Welcome back to another episode of the Enrich Your Journey podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Monahan, financial advisor, partner here at Trilogy in St. Louis. Really excited for today's episode. I've got with me Sam
Primm.
Primm, thank you. I've been wanting to call him Prime Time this whole time.
I'm good with
but
that.
We'll
that
go
works.
Primm Time. That still works,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So just really excited to have him. I was just telling Sam off air here, I have been following him on social media for probably over a year now and just been absolutely astounded, inspired, all the above, just about not only his success at a young age of
36. Just turned 36.
wow, you got me by a couple of years, but just also his innate, I would say, passion of helping others.
Mm-hmm.
He puts out a ton of content. It's really good, just trying to help others, educate them on, the ability to invest in real estate, how it can significantly impact your future, your family's future. And so again, just, in following him, just thought this would be a great person to get in. Helps out that he happens to be here in St. Louis as well. I just really appreciate your time joining us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to come 20-minute drive from my office. So it worked out pretty well. Excited to dig in and help people, as you said, for sure. That is the goal. I realized quickly, not to go on a tangent, like I used to just chase money, right? When you get started.
Yep.
And that was cool. That was fun. And then you make a little bit of money and then you shift into, well, this is kind of fun to help people too. And then you focus on helping people and you end up making more money. So it's hard to lead with helping people, but if you do that, you will make more money.
Capitalism can be fun, right? Is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
And it can help a lot of things.
Yeah. And those are the things that you remember helping others probably more than maybe the next tax bracket up or whatever that may be. So we're very similar in that regard. So I just thought, if you wouldn't mind, Sam, just tell your background. Again, we were talking a little bit off air that, you're 36, but you really haven't been doing this super long. But where you are today, how long you've come, how big of a portfolio you've built is pretty darn impressive. So if you wouldn't mind, just tell our audience your background, who you are, some of your early success, and then I'll get into a little bit more about just real estate in general.
For sure, yeah. So I'm very normal, not exciting at all. I used to shy away from that. I don't have this rags to riches, really, really cool story of overcoming all these obstacles and this gambling addiction and almost losing everything, that a lot of people would make a movie about.
Yeah.
But I'm super normal here from the Midwest, Missouri. I grew up out here in St. Louis. My dad was an engineer. Mom was a teacher. I wouldn't say we weren't I'd say lower middle class. I didn't want for a lot, but we didn't have a ton, kind of similar to probably what you were saying at the beginning, one pair of tennis shoes a year kind of thing, go on vacation, but we drive everywhere, pack your lunch to school every day, kind of uprising. So had everything I ever wanted, but just didn't have a lot, if that makes sense. So grew up here in St. Louis, nothing super exciting about that. High school, college, and was on that W-2 path that a lot of people are on. My parents were on. That's what I was kind of told to do, or just what I saw. And about, 2 or 3 years after I graduated college, which was 2011. So it was a interesting time in the economy. So I graduated college, got whatever job I could. And then I started to, I wouldn't say get bored, but started to want to have more impact. Sales job, you kind of technically have unlimited potential, but you do hit ceilings here and you got to deal with the corporate and all this stuff. So 2014 started investing in real estate on the side with a buddy. And we just were doing a little bit, not really knowing what we were doing, just evenings, weekends. We each had wives, but no kids yet. So we were able to go work 15 hours on the weekend, evenings, go check out properties, just doing everything we can ourselves, figuring out how to lay base, figuring out how to put cabinets up, just doing as much as we could ourselves. And then we started to get a little more efficient, get a little bit better. And by 2018, we both quit our jobs and went full-time into real estate. And since then, it's been nuts. The market's been pretty good. I can't complain about that, but it's been crazy. And we can kind of fill in the gaps. But flash forward it to today, sitting at about a $46 million rental portfolio that we've been able to build since then. About 290 rental properties. And then we have a house buying company here in St. Louis. We buy about 250 to 300 houses a year. And then also have social media, as you mentioned. Somehow I'm not articulate. I mumble, I slur a little bit. 2.7 million followers on social media, which is pretty crazy. I get recognized every once in a while on public, which is super awkward for everybody involved. And then I teach people how to do what I've done, because I feel like I didn't have a ton of legs up on compared to some, and was able to do some cool stuff. So now I teach people how to do what I did and follow my grooved path to get there, because everybody can get there. They just stop too early because they don't have that grooved path. So that's kind of my mission now, is to get as much out and help as many people as I can.
2.7 million followers. How many did you have in 2019 when you started this?
Zero.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'll let you maybe teach me how to get from like, my 500 that I have today to like, a quarter of that.
Yeah, you can do it, man. It's just we can get into that too. People seem to like that social media. It's just consistent posting, which you'll do. You'll get there for sure. I feel like I think it's a little extreme, but some people like used to live in the industrial age and then the digital age, and now we're in the social media age. Like it's not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to become a thing.
Yep.
There's so many examples of how social media and grow that organic following, that know, like, and trust just makes everything else easier as far as getting clients for you, for me, whoever it is. They know, like, and trust you a little bit. They're so much more likely to actually, get helped and sign up for whatever you're trying to help them with, because they've already seen you. They see an ad maybe, and they're like, I already saw him organically. Yeah. I know he's a cool dude. I saw his ad. Okay, I'll do it.
I mean, this is a great example. Like, we're sitting here, I feel like we're buddies. I've literally never met you, before 15 minutes ago, but I felt like I knew enough about you because you put out great content. I've been following you for a while. Without social media, obviously, we wouldn't have had that, and just building rapport. You seem like a trustworthy guy. You've had tons of success stories, a lot of testimonials on your website. So that power is super helpful. So yeah, I'm going to follow up with you and figure out how to get, we're going to get to my 2.7 million.
Let's get there.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your story. So again, the theme today really is real estate investing, really in today's market. So we'll ask Sam some more questions. I just thought I would start, and maybe you can add some color to some of these. I love sharing. I'm a stats guy. I love sharing stats. But just generally speaking, high level, we're talking mainly residential real estate only. Just thought I'd start by just introducing residential real estate with some stats and then kind of dovetail that into like what you're doing and the opportunities there. So, I think it goes without saying that real estate in general, primarily residential real estate in general, is obviously critical to our economy. I ran some stats. This is Congressional Research Service says that 65% of homes are owner occupied, and the housing construction provides massive employment, over 900,000 jobs just last year. So it's a huge impact, obviously, to our economy. It's part of our GDP, our gross domestic product. That's obviously an indicator of how our economy is growing or not growing. It actually counts all in. So this is realtor fees, construction services, building permits, all that. 12% of our GDP. That's way larger than I thought it would be. And then according to the Federal Reserve, this is as of 1 year ago, owner occupied, these are homes, real estate, accounts for 25% of households' net worth.
That's wild.
Which is massive. Kind of getting, what you're talking about. Like if you're a W-2 employee, all you really know is like your full-time job, you pay down your mortgage, hopefully your value in the house goes up. And then before you know it, that's potentially one of your largest assets. If we experience a normal,
normal
curve
cycle
on that. Yeah. So I thought that was,
Can I add one more stat to that?
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
a Sam stat though, but I have verified it. So since 1950, real estate, the median real estate price, because that's what the Fred of St. Louis, the account, that's what they track. It has doubled in value every 15 years since 1950. So you bought a house in 1950, it was doubled the value in 1965. You bought a house in 1981, by 1996, it doubled in value. So kind of to go on what you were saying about it's going to go up in value. If you live in it or manage it well, it is going to go up in value in aggregate. There are dips. You have to be careful, not be over leveraged, trying to cover my bases there, but it doubles in value. At least the last, 73 years, it's doubled in value every 15 years. I got 3 years it didn't. I don't remember the years, but it went up like 93%. So in a couple of years, it tripled in value. So just to kind of belabor that point is I've done the research myself. You can go do it, look it up. Every 15 years, it doubles in value, which is insane, especially we're going to do buying rentals. You don't even have to make the payments on it, and it's still going to double in value.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all we have is historicals, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can read the future, but that's why, looking at the stats and having them sourced is so important. We're accustomed, on our side, more in the market of investments doubling. Understand, you talked about volatility and risk, understanding you're not over leveraged. You have to be willing to accept periods of volatility. It's a long game, right? You're not buying, rehabbing, refinancing a rental for an 8-month duration. Like you're in that, if you bought at the right price, it's a long game. You're expecting that to appreciate. So we look at that, the doubling or tripling of values. We use what's called Rule 72. You take 72 divided by your average or your expected rate of return. That's the number of years you expect your money to double. So if we do 10, it's every 7 years. It's a good complement, to real estate.
Yep.
But here's the problem. According to the National Association of Realtors, the supply of homes in the U.S. for sale this is measured in months, reached a record low of 1.6 months. This was early last year. So according to Freddie Mac, we're behind 4 million homes available in the U.S. Think about that. That's only 1.6 months. So call it 18-ish, 20-ish months are actually available for people to buy homes. So there's a significant, this is rental multifamily. There's a significant shortage of homes. Our population is growing, but if we're not keeping up with the number of homes that we're either rehabbing or just building from scratch, that'll just, that spread will continue.
Yeah. So to just kind of like, piggyback on that point. So that means if we stopped buying houses at in January 2022, if we stopped building houses, we would run out of houses within 1.6 months, within 2 months. And in St. Louis, we just ran the numbers yesterday for the month of November, and we're a little bit, everywhere has gone up a little bit, but we're about 2.3 months in supply in St. Louis. So still very low. Like most people say a steady market is 6 months. So if you have 6 months of supply, that's not buyers, that's not a seller's market, that's right there in the middle. And we're still at 2.3 here in St. Louis. I think that's probably about what most of the country is at. So we stop, building or putting out houses, we'd run
February.
out very quickly. So
I said 1.6 years. Sorry, 1.6 months.
1.6 months. It's even crazy.
Think about how fast that goes. You're through the holidays. You're through the beginning of the year,
and
you just moved your family here, or you need to, whatever your circumstances are, and there's nothing.
No, and that's why
supply is terrible.
That's why supply and demand. It's such a simple concept, and in all types of economies, it's what drives prices. Supply is low and demand is there, price is going to skyrocket. And that's what we've seen. And that's what we're going to continue to see, because they can't just print houses like they can print money. So we're trying to get caught up. And that's the goal of everybody in the industry, is to get caught up, but it's not going to happen anytime soon, or I wouldn't say at all, but it's just, we're so far behind, because from 2008 to 2018, there were some things that happened that weren't good for the economy. And we basically stopped building houses as a country. So we are still catching up from that, and we are very, very far behind. And that's why I'm pretty bullish on real estate for the foreseeable future. Just simply take out everything else. Supply and demand. Supply is not going to be there for a while.
I mean, when you hear that stat, 1.6 months, maybe 2.3 now, you're saying, that creates massive opportunity.
Yes.
I would think, as our population continues to grow. So we get asked a lot as financial advisors, wealth managers, where does this fit in our portfolio? We do have, I would say, if I took a poll of all the families I work with, and just generally speaking, from multiple committees I'm on in the firm, probably 5 to 10% of our base of clients, we have nearly 3,000 clients now, ask or are interested in investing directly in real estate. So we typically build a portfolio where we're getting in real estate, either a public fund, which anybody has access to. We have private equity real estate investing as well, i.e. a great example, that's Blackstone, the largest private equity firm in the world. A lot of different avenues you can get there. And I always say to the client when they ask me that, what's your goal, right? How much DIY do you want to do? We have turnkey solutions, but if you want to do more on your own, learn to do direct, absolutely, your result may be different. For us, it always gets back to diversification. I know you've talked about a great example of that is, even if you go that route, make sure you're diversifying in the area you're doing, the type of property you're doing, even as far as the state you're doing business in. That's no different than us talking to a client. We're all about diversification. We know, and all research shows you, that your return comes from how you're allocated, not timing the market. I would imagine it's similar, where you still have to be diversified, make sure you're understanding your risks. What's the timeline of this investment? You don't want to just buy something, whether it's a private, public, or direct, without really having, is this a 5-year investment? Is it a 10-year? What's the exit look like? So those are the types of questions when we get those from clients. It's never, I don't think that makes sense for you. It's just understanding, do you want to go public, private, or direct? And let's talk about your goals, your risks, your time periods, things like that.
Yeah, it's you said it pretty well, but it's about time in the market, not timing the market. I mean, everybody knows Mr. Warren Buffett, and he's the the guru of investing and getting into the markets and things like that. And he doesn't make a ton of trades, right? He just lets it sit and rides those waves and has time in the market. So no matter how you're doing it, that's by far the most important thing. And it's just, especially speaking to your audience, it's just a potential to know the diversification for them and how much do they want to be involved. It's like, do you want to have stocks in real estate? Then you do, those things you talked about. But if you want to own real estate, that's great, but it's like owning the company. So there's a lot more that goes into it. So just how much time and energy and effort do you want to put into it is going to dictate what is the best strategy for you.
And I always think about, my comment about the DIYers, I always say for those that are seriously considering the direct route, if they're able and willing to invest directly in real estate, how would you, as the expert directly, define somebody that's able and willing to go direct? What are the characteristics you see in those folks that, these are people that they're wanting to get some sweat equity into this, right? These are not the turnkey solutions that I'm talking about. This is maybe a potentially a greater result, but you got to know if you're able and willing, that means what?
That means you got to be able to set some time aside to actually do it. It just takes time like anything else. And you can go do it on your own and figure it out and, spend 10, 15 hours a week, away from your kids, away from your family, or bringing them with you trying to do it. Or you can follow that more groove path and get involved in your in your local network and community. That's what I always tell anybody that's wanting to start, whether they're a high net worth individual, just have a W-2 job, looking to, maybe diversify a little bit, or looking to get out of their job in 5 years. You have to get plugged into the local community. You cannot do this alone. Any type of investing or any type of wealth building, it's not a game for those that have an ego. It's not a game for those that have that vanity that they want to do it.
Love
the people
that
want to do it themselves, that have that ego, that vanity in any industry, but we're talking real estate. Those are the people that don't make it.
Yep.
You need to lean into other people. I would go as far as to say, if you want to do it efficiently and not give up and only do it for 3-4 hours a week, you need to get some guidance. You guide people in, diversifying their portfolio and investing in markets and things. It's no different with real estate. I wouldn't say it's more complicated, but a lot more stuff can go wrong. There's a lot more risk in pulling a line of credit, borrowing money to buy a house. You're probably never going to tell anybody borrow money to buy a stock, right? To buy on March or anything like that.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of
that. But you do that in real estate. That's one of the strengths of real estate is leverage.
Yep.
You don't need
100%.
your own money or a little bit of your own money to control an asset worth much more than you're investing. And you can do it with none of your own money. The $46 million in real estate I own, I've used none of my own money to buy it because I properly and responsibly leveraged it. So a little bit of side tangent there, but you just need to get guidance if you want to be successful. You're going to pay for it either way. You're going to do it on your own. You're going to quit. You're going to over budget. You're going to over rehab. You're going to lose money. You're going to not make as much money. You're going to have less equity, or you can swallow your pride, swallow your ego, pay, or just follow somebody else's guidance. And you're going to be efficient. They're going to keep you out of the ditches, keep you in the fast lane, and at least you'll get there. And then at that point, you can decide how much to scale.
I love it. There's some, if you're watching this, if you rewind that 30, 45 second clip, it's awesome, because what you just talked about, check the ego at the door. I love that. You have to lean on your community. When you're investing in real estate, it takes a lot of parties to even just close a deal. You're talking multiple. You got agents, you got investors, you got the bank, you got the title company, the network that calls Sam and says, hey, you might want to look at this deal. Building that network is time consuming. And then you actually have the time itself, which he talked about, that you got to be willing to put in the time. There's not people knocking on your door telling you there's a phenomenal real estate opportunity available down the street that nobody else knows about. That doesn't happen.
No.
Right. So I think those three things it's so powerful. I appreciate you sharing those, because, that it takes a certain type of individual or group or family to do this. And you have to make sure it's not it's all, you got to check all those boxes, right?
Yeah. It's a sacrifice of your time and your energy and your ego and all those things, but you got to have that long-term vision. I know that's probably what you teach a lot of your people, that time in the market, that long-term vision, because it's not going to happen overnight, but it is worth spending time with your family, away from your family for a little bit of time, because that end goal, that light at the end of the tunnel, can be millions and millions of dollars worth of equity that you can get with little to none of your own money. But it's not going to happen in 6 months or even a few years. It's going to take several years to do that. So you just have to have that long-term vision in mind and have that patience and get over that immediate gratification itch that everybody scratches in our country right now with social media and swiping and scrolling and it's all this stuff. You need it now.
Yeah.
And the most successful people I've ever met are the ones that are like, I don't need it now.
Yeah.
I'm diversified. I have other streams of income coming in. I can wait on it. And that's really what I've tried to, model our bit. So I have 4 different businesses, and some businesses get kicked in the stones for 6 months or a year, but the other businesses are carrying the weight. And that's happened this year as well. So it's just being able to be patient and allow yourself to be patient with the types of income streams or the type of diversification you have, I think cannot be understated.
I mean, you mentioned the billionaire next door earlier, Warren Buffett.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the patient long game and how well that's, yielded his portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. So let's pivot to more of like the nuts and bolts. So
Okay.
let's talk about just real estate, directly investing in real estate, some of the basics there. I just wrote down, tips for creating wealth, leveraging debt, for just tips for, obviously, for new real estate investors. I want to come back to the debt thing because you had a really interesting one. There's a well-known gentleman that may have made a comment about leveraging debt to you directly. So I want to hear that story.
He did. Yep.
But let's start with just, I'm watching this right now. I can check those boxes we just talked about. I've got the wealth, I've got the itch, I've got the passion. I know I'm the right person. Like, literally, what do I do? What's the first 1, 2, 3 steps?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I think everybody should do, and I don't like people that speak in absolutes. Everybody has a different scenario, but I'm going to give you some platforms to kind of bound off of. The first one is getting a base level of knowledge. That may sound simple, but getting a knowledge of understanding what ARV means. What's the difference between wholesaling and flipping, like rental properties, midterm rental, short-term rental, long-term rental. So just understanding the basic knowledge and the basic phrasing of things so that when you do talk to people, you do interact in the next couple steps, you at least understand the conversation and you can contribute to the conversation, because that's always best when you can actually understand it and give feedback and have a conversation like this. We both are going to take way more from this than if you just shut up and I talk for 20 minutes.
Sure.
We are both going to take more because we're having a conversation. So base level of knowledge, you can get that from watching stuff like this, following social media. I obviously do, but there's a ton of people on social media that give great stuff out. So that's step one, in my opinion. Step two would be connecting with that community, like we talked about earlier. You need people to buy houses from, to sell houses to, contracts to work on your house, insurance agents to insure your properties when it's rehabbed, after it's rehabbed. You need, property management companies. You need screening companies. You need lawyers. You need, people to borrow money from. It's like dozens of people you need for one deal. So you need to get out there and meet those people, because they're like any other industry. There's the majority of people that are decent, there's the people that suck, and then there's the people at the end that you want to actually deal with, right? You're not going to find them by just, ho-humming around. You have to go meet them. You have to shake their hands. You have to get uncomfortable and get in a room where you don't know anybody and stand up and give yourself a 30-second intro to who you are, what you want to do. You just have to do those things. So those are the biggest two, in my opinion, is getting a base level of knowledge and then collecting or connecting with your local community wherever you want to invest. And there's, if most of these people are in St. Louis, like there's a lot of really, really good clubs and places you can connect in St. Louis. And I'm sure at the end we can kind of say where they can go to connect with those, but there's a ton of really good resources. So those are the first couple steps that I think everybody, speaking in absolutes, which I hate to do, should do. And then at that point, there's a lot of other avenues we could go down. But those are the first two things. Like, I don't know a ton about real estate. I want to invest. What do I do? Go listen to a podcast. Go watch YouTube. Go follow people intentionally on social media that are going to give you good advice. Because if you're not intentional about social media, you can get that TikTok scroll and your thumb will hurt and you look up and it's 2 a.m. and it's fun every once in a while, but it's not productive. And
you don't want to go down that path.
We don't have enough spare time in our days to be wasting. And people that want to do that don't either.
Yeah. We both have young families, so we want to use our time wisely while we're awake and hopefully not at 2 a.m.
Yes.
Let's talk leverage.
Okay.
You love leverage.
I do.
I understand leverage as well. I agree with it. If you read about any successful large scale or mid scale real estate investor, they are comfortable with leverage. They understand leverage. It absolutely, in my opinion, I would imagine yours, is part of the formula. Right?
Yeah, I think
you're not paying cash for real estate. It doesn't make any sense. That's hyperbole. It just doesn't exist. So first of all, tell the story real quick about who called you maybe a liar about leverage, but then just, for our audience, understanding the importance of leverage and, again, why it's absolutely part of the formula.
Then properly and responsibly leveraging. Of course, you can leverage it in a bad way. So start out with my friend Dave. So Dave Ramsey, I'm sure everybody listening knows him. His brand is 150 times bigger than mine, maybe 200 times bigger. But yeah, he called me a liar on his show, which was very, very cool. So his radio show / podcast / YouTube channel, whatever it is, gets millions of views. But they were referencing a video that I recorded with my daughter about like how much debt I'm in. And he basically just called me a liar. He went on a kind of visceral tangent about like, this guy's lying. It doesn't take an FBI detective to know that he's not telling the truth, and look at his body language, look at his eyes, anyway. So went on this huge tangent, which was great because the fact that I can send you the fact that he was so, nasty is a little aggressive of a word, but not really. He called me a liar. It allowed me to kind of be like kind of a smart ass back, So I was able to respond and say, no, I do have 25 million in debt, Dave. I'd love to show you the notes, show you the bank statements, have someone on your team contact me. I'll fly down to be on your show to talk about it, and I'll put it on a credit card, kind of like, be able to be kind of a smart ass back. So,
and did you hear from him?
I did not know, which is not surprising in my opinion, just because that's his brand is built so much around the no debt, and that's super smart of him, and he goes after that. And preying is a little, again, maybe too much of a word, but like, preys on people's fears a little bit of debt, because it can be a really bad thing, and it has screwed over a lot of people to get into consumer debt. But
and he has filed bankruptcy, right? In the 80s. So he has
a reason for it.
There's a maybe a bias there based on his experiences. It doesn't mean that's what you and I are saying today is responsible leverage is. But maybe there's a little influence there from his past.
Yeah, there is, I'm sure. And he's made a lot of money by saying what he said. So nothing against it. I'm good with it. He punched down. He allows me to punch up. I always hear, always punch up, never punch down. So
you picked up some followers.
Yeah, I'm sure I did a few. And I do meet quite a few people that have seen my video responses. I mean, probably done 5, so not a ton. It was probably 8 months ago we did it. So every few months I'll do, remind the newer followers what he did and just kind of have some fun with it. Yeah. So I've done it a few times, and and a lot of people bring it up because his brand is so big. So that was fun. But as far as like leverage goes, I think I'd take it even a step further. You said every like successful high, net worth real estate investor leverages. I'd say every successful business owner leverages to a certain degree. Like when I'm talking about leverage, I'm taking baseline, like leveraging other people's like skills and leveraging other people's time and leveraging other people's money. Of course, like I have not level you guys are at, but I have like 46 employees, 46 team members. And I like joke, I get 350 hours work of done every day because I'm leveraging their skills and their time to do things that I couldn't do. I could try to do the books. I'd be horrible at it. We'd all go to jail because I would do them wrong, but I pay accounting staff and a CFO to do that for me. And then they make a good living and great culture. So it's a great two-way street, but I'm leveraging that and giving up those responsibilities and the things that I'm not as good at or don't have time to be. And I can live in my genius zone of making TikTok videos, which is like, I would have laughed at myself if I said that 2 years ago, but live inside my zone and do what's best for everybody and kind of lead at the top with the culture and everything. So there's leveraging skills, there's leveraging knowledge. I pay 6 figures a year to be around other high-level people that teach me that are way ahead where I am, pay to be the smallest guy in the room. I do that every single year. And then you become the bigger guy in the room, and then you got to suck it up and pay to be the smaller one in the next room. So that's leverage to me is I'm leveraging my money to learn their skills quicker and more efficiently and connect with people. So I've done that. And then there's a leverage money, which is kind of what we talked about earlier. Real estate is one of the few investment strategies that you can, if I want to buy a $100,000 house, I can put $20,000 down, and I can be 20% into an asset that's worth $100,000. So I can be 20 grand and control an asset worth $100,000, and the tax benefits and the cash flow and everything that goes along with that. And then you can even take it a step further and borrow that, to keep it simple, borrow that 20% down. And if you're buying at a discount and getting into a lot of the weeds a little bit, but doing it the right way, you can do it that way. Like I have 25 million in debt, but it owns 46 million in real estate. If I wasn't in $25 million worth of debt, I would own $1 million in real estate, right? So if you do it responsibly and do it the right way and buy properties at a discount and manage them well and care about your tenants, and a lot goes into it, but if you do it the right way, I don't know another avenue that I could increase my net worth that quickly unless I already had money. And if I already have money, then, it's just one of those things where it's the only way that I know to get that net worth up and get that, financial security up that quickly is to responsibly and leverage other people's money to buy assets. Because, and then I'll go off my tangent here in a second, wealth is created usually through equity, equity in real estate, equity in businesses, and assets kind of tend to have equity as a part of, that's kind of the definition of an asset. So if you can borrow money to buy an asset and take the cash the asset produces to pay off who you borrowed the money from, you own assets now that will create wealth for you that you didn't use any of your own money to buy. So tangent done, off my soapbox. There's a lot that goes into that, but it's super powerful to me if you do it the right way. And I've done it, and I've seen, thousands of my students now do it and buy 40 rentals in a year, go from being a teacher to quitting their job within 6, it's insanely powerful if you do it the right way.
Would you agree that the leverage game requires all those things we talked about? It's still, you're not just calling ABC Bank down the street and they're writing a check, right? Like there's a ton of time. They want to know you. They're obviously in for risk. This might be private lenders as well. That also requires a lot of your time to network with those folks. I would imagine the 25 million isn't with one person, so that's diversified out as well. You've got to vet them. They've got to vet you. All the terms are different in every structure. Like that's a whole game in itself, right?
Yeah,
Like
it is.
these are complex deals, but if you vet those, you've mentioned this word numerous times, and it's appropriate, right? It's appropriate debt. It's it's vetted, but that's still creating a lot of time building those relationships so that when you find the next big property and you need a couple $1 million, if it's a $10 million, you have those avenues because you built that rapport.
Yeah,
with
it
those
happens
folks.
over time. A lot of people are like, "Who's going to give you 25 million?" I'm like, "Nobody." But I had someone give me 100,000, and then I gave them their money back, and then they gave me 200,000, and then they told their friends, and their friends gave me, we all split 400,000 on the next deal, and they brought the money into place, and then I, took the loans to a bank, and then they did it, and they raised my guidance limit $1 million to 4 million, and then another bank got involved. It's a process that that immediate gratification thing we were talking about earlier. This all took, happened quickly, but very first property was end of 2014. We refinanced in 15. So technically about 9 years, 8.5, 9 years. So
Okay.
it happened quickly, but it didn't, happen overnight. A lot of this social media stuff and the expanding like the house buying company, that was recently. But as far as like building this equity, not money wise,
network,
like,
your
yeah,
network.
with credibility and equity. Yeah, network. It takes time,
time.
and it takes intentionality, and it takes just consistency. Persistence beats resistance. You just got to be persistent. That's why this will be successful, because you're continue to do it. And I remember the days where I would put out a video, it'd get 18 views. The next one got 40 views. Yay, I'm excited. Then the next one got 5. So it just takes time to continue to push through and to build all that up.
Love it. Well, we're going to get thousands of views on this.
There you go. Let's go.
'Cause I got Sam Primm here.
I'll share it. We'll make it happen.
I love it. Let's take the next few minutes here, just focusing on of your 4 companies. Is Faster Freedom the passion? Is that the one you want to spend the most on?
It is, yeah. So I have a business partner that owns everything with me, and he was an engineer, so he's more of that.
By the way, sorry, was he the one that you started with?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have been together this whole time too.
Yeah, we went to middle school together, went to high school together, played sports growing up.
Nice. Who's the better athlete? He may not watch this, so you're safe.
I will send this part to him. I would say I'm slightly a better athlete. He did play basketball at Raleigh, so he is.
Okay.
But he didn't play football. Football is my sport. I did play basketball as well, though. So,
Gotcha.
anyways, we both grew up playing sports, super competitive. Went to college together, had a little too much fun in college together. Got in a few fun bar fights, and then we got in fights against each other. So, anyways,
Is this at Raleigh?
Yeah, that was Mizzou and Missouri State.
Okay.
And then Raleigh, he went to Raleigh. Yeah, Raleigh. There was a few scuffles there as well. So
Gotcha.
And he's the calm engineer, like kind of like a woo-woo guy now, but he was the instigator. He will tell you that. Anyways, I was defending him usually. But so we've been together a long time, and he is more of that engineer, like that operations, that kind of mindset and skill set, and I'm more of like marketing, sales, negotiating kind of thing. So for a while we did everything together, and then we kind of divided and conquered. So now he focuses on the rental portfolio, the management of that. We're CEOs, and we have a COO of each of our companies. So we have
Gotcha.
a COO of a flipping company, the 23 person, our biggest company. The COO is named Matt, Luke's brother-in-law. Actually, we go into business with our friends and family intentionally, but he's Luke's brother-in-law. He runs that company. He's incredible. He worked at Major Brands, a local company here in St. Louis, and he was a high level there sales director. So he's over here running that whole company. He reports to Lucas. We have Richard, who runs our property management and our operations of our rentals. He reports to Lucas as well. He manages all our rentals. And then the education company, another Matt is the COO of that. He reports to me. And then we have an investment type company that we just started that Phil runs. So we have strong leadership in each of those companies that report up to us, that allow us to focus on the bigger picture things, and allow us to focus on culture, and allow us to, lead by example, and, kind of make sure all the companies are working well together.
Gotcha. Is that all following up to Faster Freedom, or is Faster Freedom
Faster Freedom is one of them? Yeah. So we Prosper Companies is the name of the company, and then there's Faster House, which flips, Faster Freedom, which is the education, Midwest Proctor Group is our rentals, then InvestLoop is our company we just started. So they all funnel up to Prosper, which is where Luke's and I kind of sit.
Gotcha. Let's talk about just the next. Nobody has a crystal ball, but I'm backing up a little bit. If you're interested in real estate investing, what's the next? You mentioned earlier, you're bullish. I'm bullish. 1 to 3 years. We get a lot of questions, concerns from clients on our end that what's the Fed going to do? We're obviously in an interest rate increasing environment. Are we at the top? Who knows? One article on CNBC says yes. The next article, there was 4 the last few weeks that said they're going to cut next year. I'm not in that camp. I don't know your opinion, but we are in an elevated interest rate environment. Everybody's using the R word, recession. Are we going to be in a light recession? if you had to take a crystal ball next 1 to 3 years, I know you're already bullish, but you're watching this right now. You want to get into real estate. Why would somebody watching this still be interested, or should they take the first step investing in real estate, other than it being a long game over the next, call it 3 years?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And you said a crystal ball. Like, I don't know for sure. I'm definitely more of an optimist guy, kind of half glass full. So my opinion is that, yeah, it's going to be strong because supply is the main thing. Demand is always there. And then, even if we do hit a recession, and if they do lower interest rates, which I don't think they're going to do personally that drastically. If they do, that is just going to make houses skyrocket. So you want to be in there now anyway. So if you can make it work now at the higher interest rates, then I would definitely suggest getting in, because I think it's only going to get easier. If they lower interest rates, the cost of money will be less, but the demand will be even higher. So you'll have more of that what's limited supply. You'll have that real estate. So getting in that game and starting now, I think is a great time to get started, because supply, like you said, the long-term game, I don't think there's a bad time to get into real estate. If you bought a house in 07 at the height, guess what? By 2022, it's still doubled in value, even go do the math, even after the 08 drop, which is insane to think about. So I think just having that long-term game, and to kind of like round about that answer, just the long-term game, and just to know that it's going to go down in the future at some point, but it's going to, if you're willing to stay in it long term, if you manage it the right way, then you're going to be just fine, as long as you're not putting all your eggs in this basket. And you can do a ton of different things. You can wholesale. Interest rates don't matter there, because you don't have to close on the property. You can fix and flip. The interest rates are higher. You're not paying that really. The buyer that's buying the house from you is going to end up paying that. You can get into rentals. You can do the short-term rentals, which some people have got into heavily recently. You can do the long-term rentals, or you can do the mid-term rentals, which is a huge new thing coming into play when traveling nurses or corporate execs need to live somewhere for 30, 60, 90 days. You can lease it out. We've ran numbers. We have some here in St. Louis. There's a house we're looking to buy in South City, a 2-bed, 1-bath, rented for $950 a month. It negatively cash flowed like $150 a month. We put it on a midterm rental. We were able to get $800 more per month, and it went from negative 150 to positive 550, 650. So it went from not a deal to a deal, all because we
modifying hoots.
We were agile. That's the thing about real estate. You have that control. That's why I am so strong on it. You can control when to buy or sell a stock, but you're not in the boardroom with the people making decisions of what the company's going to do. When you own real estate, you are the boardroom, so you can sell it. You can flip it. You can refinance it. You can get a new tenant in place. You can, go to a different bank. You can do, and you control who goes in that asset. So you have so much control, and you're able to pull so many different levers when you're in real estate that just allow you to be so flexible. There's other levers and other investments that I'm not near as versed on the markets and things like that, but there's more levers in that regard. There's more levers in real estate than anything else, in my opinion, from what I can tell.
Sure. That's great. Last short bit I have here. What's your ultimate goal? We call it a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. What's the company look like? Do you guys have a number of individuals or bedrooms or lives you're looking to impact, number of employees? Like, what's this, you're doing well, you're growing real estate. What's this thing look like in 5, 10, 15 years? Is Sam going to retire at 85 because you're so passionate about it? Or is it, we grow this thing to 100 million and we take it to a private equity firm? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So we've been thinking about this, Luce and I have recently, because our first goal is to buy one house a year for 10 years. And then our second goal was 25 million in real estate by 2025. And so we kind of set these goals that seemed crazy at the time. 10 houses seemed nuts at the time. I remember Lucas's dad's buddy owned like 35 houses, and he's the richest guy I've ever met. And then, getting 25 million in real estate. So we're like, all right, let's set some crazy goals. Let's have some intentionality behind it. So we kind of have 3 main big goals right now. One is to own a $1 billion organization that does $1 billion a year in revenue, which we love that, because our team has over 200 rentals just in our office. Like our project manager has 40 rentals.
Like individuals.
Yeah, it's like helping them do that. So growing a team is huge for us, but having $1 billion organization will mean we had a pretty big team. Owning $1 billion in real estate, which seems crazy, still does, but it's not as crazy the bigger we grow, because we have.
And reminder, you're only 36.
36,
so you've got some time.
Yeah, and so we have with some of our things, we have 25 million-ish in equity with a few of our other holdings that we have. So we talking to our CPA, and he's like, you need to think return on equity now. Like, that 25 million owns 50-ish million. Like,
Sure.
You could own 100 million and have
Sure.
25 million in equity still, but owe 75, and then you return on that equity and your tax spend. Like, so starting to think like that is
Scaling up.
mind blowing, but like we could get to that point if we like kind of traded up our portfolio with some, with somebody else or private equity, or just got a huge package, we could do that. So to do that. And then my favorite is to bring an NBA team here to St. Louis. And
wow. How about that? Is this breaking news?
Yeah, that's
have you gone public with this yet?
A little bit here and there.
Breaking news on the Enrich Your Journey podcast.
Breaking news on the Enrich Your Journey podcast. So that's a crazy goal.
That's awesome.
And so there's a reason behind it. So it checks all the boxes. It's like a tangible like box checking goal. Like, if we bring an NBA team to St. Louis, that will mean we've made a lot of money, of course. That will mean we've impacted a lot of lives here locally.
Tons of lives.
That will mean we have made contacts with the local government as well as local business owners. That will mean we are providing a ton of jobs for people in St. Louis. That will also mean we are networking with other billionaires or, centimillionaires. So if we're able to do all that, obviously NBA team would be cool. That's definitely is the goal. But even if we're not, that means we will have checked all those boxes, because that's what it boils down to, doing all of those things here locally in St. Louis. I mean, we have a nonprofit here in St. Louis. We donate, our percentage of our net profit every single month on mental health awareness. We talked about a little bit earlier off air here in St. Louis. We do golf tournaments for them. We do trivia nights. We've raised almost $750,000 in the past 2 years for that nonprofit, and so we started that a couple years ago. So it is about the community and impacting the community. We opened with this: the more you impact, the more you help, the more you provide solutions, the more money you're going to make. I had last tangent. I had 2 conversations in 2022 with billionaires. Never done that before, because some of those rooms I was in, and I felt like was the only time in my life I felt like I was living in a simulation, because everybody jokes about that, because they were 6 months apart. They didn't know each other. One of them was the owner of Priceline.com. The other one, or the Priceline and all that. And the other one was he had 40 billion in, real estate and under management. And they both said the same thing. They're like, and I opened with a little bit, but they're like, I chased money. That was great. But then I started helping people, impacting people, and the feeling of that.
Bigger purpose.
And then chasing that. And like they both said the same thing. Money's not good. It's not evil. It just flows through society. There's enough of it for everybody. And it goes to the people that provide solutions. So you provide solutions, you forego profit, you forego scratching every inch out of every deal and stepping on somebody's back to make an extra buck. You forego all that, and you will make more money than you ever know what to do with. And I haven't got quite to that point, but I have made more money in a month than I thought I would make in years working a W-2 job. And it started to happen as soon as I truly embraced that like impact, the mindset of abundance. I talked about it for 3 or 4 years. But as soon as I had those conversations about mid last year, I truly like embraced it deep down, not just externally. That's when like money started pouring in, lives started getting changed. And it's a wild concept, and it sounds cool talking on a camera, but actually living in a body, it's really cool.
It's real.
It's really wild.
Yes. I mean, we obviously work with a lot of investors, high net worth clients as well. And, in my experience, you're right. The money is it's part of life and the formula, but, the folks that are charitably inclined, or they just know what their bigger purpose is, those are the ones that you can tell they wake up with that sense of gratitude that's real, right? Like, all the business and the money, it's still happening, it's still growing because they've made all the right decisions along the way. Everything we talked about, the grind, the network, all that. But you sort of realize like there's another purpose here as well. And if I could spend my energy and time on that now that this is all running on all cylinders like you are, that waking up with that sense of gratitude is pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's fun. I get excited to wake up and go help and impact people. I'm itching for Monday mornings, so it's fun.
Love it. I've got 2 quick questions.
You're
One,
good.
What's it going to take? How much to get Michael Jordan here for the opening ceremony? And number 2, when you get the NBA team here, are you going to remember me, and can I be there for that opening
Yes,
game?
we will. Yes, you will be there. You can be in the owner's box, or if you want to be on the floor, either one. And we're thinking.
Dan, did you hear that? We
got
this
it.
recorded.
It's recorded. We're thinking. Cut out for that part. Just kidding. We're thinking. We don't know yet, but we're thinking the St. Louis Archers, because of like the arch and like the basketball, like the arch could be like going into a hoop as a kind of like the logo.
Love it.
And then people joke the Toasted Ravs. We're not going to be that. Or the Hustle with STL being like highlighted in the word hustle. So like the St. Louis Hustle, because there's like the Magic and the Thunder, so that you don't have to be like a plural. But anyway, so we're thinking the St. Louis Hustle or the St. Louis Archers. That's the names we're kicking around. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I'll put all your information on the website as well. I would say I always like to do a call to action each episode. If you're watching this, I mean, he just dropped some fire knowledge on you all. So hopefully you took away some bullet points on if you're seriously considering investing directly, you have the ability, you're willing, all that, the grind, everything we talked about, the characteristic, checking the ego at the door. I would encourage you to look up Sam and his companies. There's just tons of free content out there. So can't thank you enough for coming in today. Really appreciate it. It was an awesome conversation and look forward to staying in touch, and we'll get out for a golf round as well.
Let's do it. Banana hook to the right. That's me all day.
We'll aim left. We'll aim further left.
Like it.
All right, Sam. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you all. Take care.